Good evening everyone, welcome to Tom Plays Civilization 6 for absolute beginners. I do personally think that Civilization 6 has got a very good tutorial system. It does a pretty good job of explaining the game as you go through it, but I also think it's a little unusual as a strategy game, so if it's not one you've played before, you may find that the way you normally play doesn't work as well. It's the basic premise of the Civilization games has always been about civilization, so they tend to focus a lot on cities. They're very keen on buildings, so that's the first surprise. You'll constantly be obsessed with what's being built in your city, whether it's a building or a unit, and in some ways I think it's possibly less realistic than some games. It's a lot more like a game, and yeah, it's probably the first major strategy game I played. I used to play the first one when it first came out, and it's changed quite a bit since then, but the fundamentals are quite similar. For Civ 6, you've got 4 ways to win. You've got the military way, which I've always had, although in this case you only need to take the capital cities. You've got the science option, which in this case is colonising Mars. And with Civ 6 you've got culture, which I actually find one of the easiest ones to do, but it depends a lot on whom you have as a leader. And there's also a religion one, which isn't one I'd come across before, and is interesting. It does add a new dimension to the game, because you effectively have a religious conflict going on behind the military conflicts. So my plan is basically I'm doing this with no expansions. I'm assuming the expansions just make things easier, and of course if you're a beginner you may not have them. If you do, they add a bit more to the game, but the basics stay the same. And I'm actually going to play on just the basic play now game, so get a random leader. So I won't know which nation we're playing as until at least the first episode. And you also play on Prince mode, which is surprisingly fair for a lot of strategy games. A lot tend to give the computer advantages to make up for the AI not being as good as a human player. So in some ways we'll have a major advantage, simply from the fact that they don't have a lot of advantages in Prince mode. There are some easier modes you can pick if you do find it more difficult, or you can of course ramp up the difficulty. One criticism I do have of Civ 6 is that I think the jumping difficulty is pretty big. You go up to King mode, you're at a fairly big disadvantage compared to the fairness you're used to on Prince. I've never been that keen on handicaps myself, so quite happy to do this just with the basics, just play on Prince. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes, see if it's something people find useful, and I think I'll turn off the music and I'll turn off the speech, because either could drive people crackers. And that's it. I will see you in the first episode.